Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Rebecca Adehill Show. I hope that you are having the most incredible start to your week. I am really excited for today's conversation because I am about to bring some logic to your wealth energetics. What I am noticing a lot in the online space is that there is a lot of conversations around wealth energetics, which I am personally really passionate about. And one of my most downloaded episodes here on the podcast is actually how I healed my relationship with money. So I know there is a lot of people that are moving through their own money mindset and they are working really hard on their wealth energetics so that they can actually create the wealth that they desire. And I think a crucial part in me healing my relationship with money wasn't leaving it to luck, wasn't just journaling about all of my big goals and then leaving it up to the universe to deliver. And I think that is a misconception that I am seeing a lot of in the online space at the moment, where I sort of get the energy of like, let's just leave it to luck. Let's leave it. Let's just put it out to the universe and hopefully it's going to come back to us in tenfold. Do I believe that we get to be an energetic match for the things that we want to call in? Absolutely. But I also believe that logic will bring you a lot of safety and certainty in your body. And when you operate in life and in your business from a state of calm and certain and confident, you are going to feel so safe to keep creating and keep going after your goals because you have a plan. It actually makes sense in your mind. Because when something doesn't make sense, you're going to go, yeah, that would be lovely, but how? Often we ask ourselves how. And that is that beautiful masculine that actually kicks in. And I do think that there is a space for surprise and go, oh, I just had this unexpected payment come in. I love when that happens, but imagine only leaving it up till surprise. What I know to be true about surprises, it doesn't actually create safety in your body. You know, when you get a surprise, you go, oh, it's that feeling in your body, which is kind of a bit unexpected, uncertain. You are not quite sure what's going on. Do we think that is a healthy way as we want to consistently grow our businesses and call in new levels of wealth? Maybe not. Because one thing I know to be very true, in order to call in what you desire, you must feel really safe and really certain. And that is how you become an energetic match to what you want to call in. So today I'm going to break down 5 steps that I think is absolutely essential to add in some logic as you are working on your own wealth energetics. So let's dive on in. Step number 1 is knowing your numbers. It baffles me the amount of business owners that are actually not on top of their numbers. I need you to know what is coming in. What is going out? What are your profit margins? What are some of your fixed monthly expenses? You should be able to rattle them off to me without thinking about it. Know your numbers, because if you are operating your business, you must be on top of your numbers. And if numbers and accounting and all of those financial things, if that is not your cup of tea, get yourself a really good accountant. It's one of the best investments I have made inside of my business because now I go to bed at night knowing that my books are clean, down to every single cent. Down to every cent. And I know exactly my profit margin, what is coming in, what is going out, what are some of my fixed expenses. So I can now start to forecast and I know exactly where my bottom line is. I know exactly how much I need to make as a minimum inside of my company. I also know what my profit margin is. So anything on top of that, I know that that's going to be my overflow. And another thing on top of that as well, taking into account if you are paying BAS, if you are paying taxes, make sure that you are on top of your numbers, because I don't want you to have this unexpected payment come in and then you're going to go, oh, I did not plan for that. I didn't forecast for that. I did not know that that was coming in. That is going to give you such an uncomfortable feeling in your body. But if you know that it's coming, then you're going to be like, I knew that that was coming and I have saved money so that I can make that payment. I want to give an example. I recently, a few months back now, I got a tax bill and I shared it online that I got a $140,000 tax bill for the last quarter. $140,000. My accountant sent me an email and said, Rebecca, you've got a few emails. Can we jump on a meeting? And we jumped on a meeting and he goes, yep, you got to pay this, you got to pay that, you got to pay that, you got to pay that. Of course, when I think about $140,000 just leaving my bank account, was there a part of me that went, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. I could go on a really nice holiday and probably buy a couple of houses with that amount of money. 100%. Those thoughts went through my mind. But second to that as well, I knew that that was coming. So I had money saved up that was ready to go. No problem. And I see the tax man as my business partner. So I don't see the money that's coming into my company. I know that there is a huge percentage of that actually goes to paying salaries, wages, super, tax, all of those things that we actually need to pay, all my fixed expenses. I see that as a partnership. And when you actually learn to separate, I don't see it as my money. I see it as my company's money. And I need to be really good at knowing what's coming in and what's going out. So when that huge payment came, and I had some of my clients go, how did you even deal with that? I'm like, because I knew it was coming. And then I paid for it and I kept moving in my business as per usual. Just see it as a transaction, but you need to be on top of your numbers. And the second thing here is financial forecasting. This is step number 2. Can you forecast your revenue for the next 3, 6, 12 months? I know, for instance, the minimum I will make inside of my company for the next 6 months, simply because I have monthly recurring revenue coming into my business. So if I did nothing between now and the next 6 months, I still know the amount of money that will come up as a bare minimum. Say I did nothing. I know that I'm going to be more than okay. And then after the 6 months, I obviously need to pick up my pace then. But I think what's so good about that is that I can now forecast and I will be able to see 6 months ahead simply based on forecasting, seeing that monthly recurring revenue building month after month after month after month. And what's so cool about that is that now I can see very clearly the financial position of my company for the next 6 to 12 months. But what's even better, given that is my forecast and I can see the revenue coming in, everything that I do today is simply going to add to that bottom line. It's going to stack that revenue. And that is a term that I just find so delicious, stacking revenue. And that is really the aim of the game here, and learning to have a model where you can actually start to stack and build on your monthly recurring revenue. Whether people are paying you full or on payment plan, it actually doesn't matter, because I will still forecast a pay in full payment as it was being paid out over time, if that makes sense. So to me, it actually doesn't matter how it comes in, but I can still forecast that for months to come. And be really conservative in your forecasting as well. And I think here is, again, where a lot of people go wrong. They will be, oh, I'm going to do a masterclass and this is going to be my conversion event. I'm going to count on a 20% conversion rate. I'll be like, that's madness. Like, count on a 3% conversion rate. And maybe you end up with a 10% conversion rate. And at least you're going to be like, that's a lovely surprise. But at least you are forecasting being extremely conservative so that you know exactly, if worst comes to worst and you get a 3% conversion rate on, say, a masterclass or any form of conversion event, you know that you have forecasted at 3%. You did not forecast at 20% and now need to make up for the gap of 17% where you actually misjudged. So what I think is really crucial here is be conservative and super realistic when you are forecasting. I'm even forecasting in clients, for instance, that will bounce on payments and ghost me. Like it happens like 1 in 1,000 clients. But I still choose to kind of add in what would be the worst case scenario. And if you start to plan your business from a worst case scenario, being really conservative, you know that you are going to be okay. And I used a very similar example the way I'm planning my weeks. I don't plan my weeks from a best case scenario type day. I plan my weeks from a worst case scenario type day. And when I plan for that, I know that I can still show up even on my worst days. And exactly the same when it comes to financial forecasting, do the same inside of your business. What is the worst that can happen? And how do I make sure that I am safe and I'm creating enough safety in my body so I know maybe I'll end up on a 20% conversion rate. Maybe my client retention is going to go through the roof next month. But I'm going to be super conservative in my calculations so I know I'm always going to end up in front. And that is going to make you feel so empowered in the process. And step number 3 is all about reverse engineering your goals. And especially if you set really big goals, I have an incredible program called Quantum Scaling that I kicked off last week. It's a rolling group coaching program where we are specializing in building funnels and like really 10xing what they are currently doing. And the focus is simply to stack their monthly recurring revenue. They already have somewhat an established business, and now we can amplify what they are doing. But what I did on our first call together, we sat down and we reversed engineer their goals. And they're like, I want to get to 100K months in 12 months. And I'm like, perfect. And some of them were like, I just want to get to 84K so I can have $1 million business per year. And I'm like, perfect, let's do it. And some were like, I just want to get to 50K or 20K a month. But then we started to reverse engineer that. And I go, okay, great. So say, for instance, you want to make 50K or 100K. Let's say 100K, for instance, 100K per year in 12 months time. You go, yeah, I want to make 100 grand consistent recurring revenue per month in 12 months. Amazing. Then we reverse engineer that. So now we strip it back to 6 months, 50K. Okay, amazing. Then we strip it back again to 3 months, 25K. And then we go back to the 6-week plan. We're like, okay, great. What do you need to make in the next 6 weeks? Every single one of them were like, oh, I've already hit my goals. When you use the power of reverse engineering, you will actually start to see how quickly you will actually reach your goals. Because when we go, oh, I want to get to 100K months, I am at 20 right now, that gap is huge. But when you learn the power of reverse engineering and simply having a 6-week block that you can focus on, that big goal that you have in 12 months' time, it won't feel so big anymore. And once you have reversed engineered that goal, simply ask yourself, with the model that you are currently operating under, how many clients do you need inside of each space? And then plug that into ChatGPT and say, my courses will generate 30% of my revenue. My group coaching program will generate another 30% of my revenue. And then the remaining will come from private mentoring. And then you go, if I want to reach consistent 100K months in 12 months, how many clients do I need inside of each space? And beautiful AI will spit back at you exactly how many people that you need. So now, again, we are adding that level of logic to your big goals. We are reverse engineering it so you know exactly what you need to do and how many clients that you need. So when you know what your 12-month goal is, if that is 100K months, you want to get to consistent 100K, you know exactly how many clients that you need. When you reverse engineer that into a 6-week plan, you're going to go, oh my goodness, I only need an additional 3 clients per month. And next month, I need to add an additional 10 clients per month. Now the gap isn't so big. And all of a sudden what will happen, because now your brain will go, this actually makes sense to me. I can see this play out. I don't need $100,000 next month. I don't need 500 clients next month. I need 3. And then I need to stack that to 10. And then I need to stack that further to 20. What will happen, and I'm curious, you're listening right now, can you feel a bit of a exhale in your body? And the reason for that is simply because we've added in a layer of logic. We're not leaving it to luck. We're not crossing our fingers and going, I'm just going to leave it to the universe. I'm going to write it in my journal. I'm just going to see what happens. Fuck that. Add some logic. If you are operating a company, be on top of your shit, reverse engineer so you can actually craft a plan. So you know what is required from you to go and make that happen. And step number 4 is all around adding in healthy detachment. I often speak about learning to detach from the outcome. There are certain things inside of our businesses that we actually can't control. And it is your responsibility to detach from the things you can't control. And I know that that is easier said than done. But what does healthy detachment look like? I have some pretty juicy goals for my business. The logic is like, actually, I can see that. I have reverse engineered that. I have done my forecasting. I have looked at my forecasting from a very conservative perspective. I know what's going out. I know what's coming in. I know it all. But then there are certain things that I actually can't control. I can't control my conversion rate. I can't control whether people choose to go, Rebecca, I'm all in. Let's do 12 months of private and I'm going to pay you in full. I can't control that. Am I open to that? Absolutely. But I can't control whether someone will make that empowered decision or not. But what I can control is what I do in the lead up to them making that decision. So healthy detachment for me actually looks like, okay, maybe I can't control these 3 things, but I can control the things before that will heavily influence their decision. So your marketing, your messaging, resilience in business, consistency, really having an unwavering belief in what you do. I said this in a previous podcast. How can we ask someone to bet on you if you can't bet on yourself? That is the most important part. So I can control that. I can work on my communication. I can work on my confidence. I can work on my articulation. I can be consistent. I can show up with open arms saying, I am ready to support you. I'm ready to serve you. I am ready to lock arms with you and blow your business up. Whether you on the receiving end says yes or no, it is not up to me. So I can detach from that. And when you learn to have a healthy detachment, you will bring the power even more so back to you. Because every time you anxiously attach to an outcome you can't control, you instantly fall into lack. So what can you control in those moments? And again, healthy detachment, that takes practice. And having the awareness when you go, when you have this anxious attachment come up, you'll feel it in your body. Just learn to catch yourself in that moment. Learn to go, oh, this does not feel good. I'm going to pause. What did Rebecca say? Healthy detachment. What can I control? Boom. Action. What can I control? And you are instantly shifting that energy, bringing the power back to you and go, focus on the plan. You can't control that. Completely detach. Continue to execute the plan. And step number 5 is all about focusing on building your monthly recurring revenue. Stacking that revenue is going to create so much safety in your body. If you need to start from scratch every single month, I understand that you must feel really uncertain in your business. So a really good question you can ask yourself is to go, what needs to shift so that I can actually start to build on my monthly recurring revenue? If I can't, with the model that I'm currently operating under, forecast my revenue, what needs to shift in either my delivery model, in my pricing options, so that I can start to build on my monthly recurring revenue? Once you can create healthy monthly recurring revenue, you will instantly create a level of safety in your body. Again, safety and logic goes hand in hand. And the first question my clients ask me to go, if they are coming to me making 10K per month or 20K per month, and they're like, I want to get to 100. And I'm like, easy, let's go. The first question is, but how, Rebecca? How? That is the number one question. How? Why do they ask how? It's simply because they want to understand the logic behind those goals. And this is the pivotal part as you are working on your wealth energetics. If you have been so good journaling, manifesting, leaving it up to the universe, and you're like, fuck, I'm still not seeing anything. I am an energetic match. I'm doing all the things. I've detached from the timeline. Maybe the missing piece of the puzzle here is simply logic. I'm going to leave you on that note today. If this episode resonated with you, please drop me a DM on Instagram or share it with a friend or someone that can really benefit from this conversation. And I would also really love if you can do me a favor and leave me a review below. The more people that are listening to the podcast and to the show, the more people I get to impact with my mission. Thank you so much for tuning in for another week. I cannot wait to be back here next week for another show.